Okay. Well, the title of this year's conference is Self-Care, Being Selfish So You Can Be Selfless. And like we did last year, we have a recorded session from Dr. Judson Brandeis, who's a urologist in Northern California. And he wrote this seminal book, The 21st Century Man. And it's about 900 pages. It's like the Bible for men's health, in my opinion. I read it from cover to cover. I would recommend that if you were to get a copy, that you get the Audible version of the book, because it's much easier to digest than reading a 900-page book. But it is a one-stop resource for all things to do with men's health. And we're very privileged today to have podcast dad number 228 deliver a brief presentation.
This is Dr. Judson Brandeis. I'm a urologist and men's health expert out of Northern California. And David was kind enough to invite me to talk to you all about self-care, which is something that I really care about because, let me throw a couple statistics at you. 100 years ago, women lived 1 year longer than men. Now, 100 years later, women live 5 years longer than men. Second of all, the longevity of middle-aged men in the United States is actually declining, and it was declining even before COVID. And the reason it's declining, alcohol, opioids, and suicide, diseases of despair. And do we take care of ourselves? No. Men are 50% less likely than women to go to the doctor. So we're not taking care of ourselves. Now, if you ask me, like, well, Dr. Brandeis, you're a smart guy. What should I be doing? I can give you the answer in about 15 seconds. There are 10 things that you can do to improve your health care. Don't drink. Don't smoke. Don't do drugs. Don't eat too much. Exercise every day. Stretch every day. Sleep 6 to 7 hours, 8 hours if possible, every night. Meditate every day. Try to have as much sex as you possibly can and be nice to other people. Now that sounds too easy and too good to be true, but if you follow that advice, you'll be healthier than about 95% of Americans. And as you know, we all live in the real world. You guys are part of the Special Fathers Network. You're a 21st century dad. You have children with special needs that take up an inordinate amount of time. You work, you probably have other children, you have spouses, you have parents, you have community responsibilities, work responsibilities. You guys are busy, busy guys. And so, doing those 10 things that I just kind of rattled off can be really, really difficult. And so, I understand that. But as a general guiding principle, first of all, most of those things are inexpensive. And second of all, many of them are enjoyable. But let me just go through a couple of them to highlight. So first of all, alcohol. Alcohol is really 4 things. One, it's incredibly ingrained in our society, right? So when you're younger, you're going to the ball game, you have some beers. When you're older and a little bit more sophisticated, you're drinking wine. When you're older and going out with the guys, you're drinking whiskey or bourbon or whatever, okay? So it's very much ingrained in society and ingrained in sort of how we live our lives. But first of all, alcohol is a depressant, okay? That's the class of drug that you're taking. So anytime you're drinking alcohol, you're making yourself more depressed. Second of all, alcohol disinhibits you, okay? So for most of us, most of the stupid things that we've done in life have been done under the influence of alcohol. And third of all, alcohol is empty calories, right? So a glass of wine is 125 calories per glass. So if you have a glass of wine every day for an entire year, you're going to put on about 13 pounds of fat above and beyond if you didn't drink that glass of wine. If you have 2 glasses of wine, 26 pounds of fat you're packing on each year based on taking in alcohol with no nutritional benefit. That's why it's called empty calories. So, remember the scene in Animal House where they're going in front of Dean Woerner and he says, Drunk, fat, and stupid is no way to go through life, right? So if you're drinking too much alcohol, you're going to be fatter, you're going to be sadder, and you're going to be less inhibited or stupider. Okay. Now, let's talk about fat for a minute, because a lot of people are fat or overweight. You know, it's estimated by the end of the decade, half of Americans will be fat or obese. Fat is really an important aspect of human physiology or animal physiology, right? So animals are eating a lot right now to pack on fat to get ready for the winter, right? Because in the winter, there's not that much food. And so you need the calories in order to stay alive, right? Animals can't whip out their cell phone and in 15 minutes order a burrito from Uber Eats. That doesn't work that way. So humans have pushed themselves outside of evolution, and we can crank up the calories that we eat, and our body still is a body of an animal. And so it sees all those calories and says, wow, you know, I don't know when my next meal's going to be. And so it takes all of those calories and turns it into fat. You know, for example, if you've ever been to Alaska, you go up to Juneau and you watch the whales eat. It's really an amazing thing. You watch them bubble feed and create a bubble net and jump up their mitts. It's just unbelievable. But these whales are eating for 23 hours a day for 5 months to put on blubber. And then the mama whales swim from Alaska to Hawaii, have a baby, feed the baby, and the mom and the baby swim back from Hawaii to Alaska. And for 7 months, they don't eat. That's entirely based on fat, on blubber, right? So that's the power of fat, but we don't have to swim to Hawaii and back to Alaska, right? We just have to hop in the car and go to McDonald's to the pickup line. So that's, you got to understand why it's so hard to lose weight. Our body is desperately trying to hold on to those calories. So really, the understanding of the importance of fat is essential to understanding how to lose weight. Okay, the other really critical aspect of your health is exercise. Okay, exercise does so many things for us, and really, even if it's only 30 minutes, even if it's, you know, getting a treadmill or getting a bike or doing push-ups or sit-ups, you got to get the heart pumping, you got to get the blood flowing. It serves so many purposes. It's a natural antidepressant. It takes down stress, it takes down anxiety, and helps you sleep better. There really is no alternative to exercise. Now, as you get older, right, I'm 55, almost 56 years old, you have to be smarter about exercise, right? Doing the same thing every single day isn't going to serve you well. It's just going to get you hurt. Like all those folks that got Pelotons during COVID and was riding like heck every single day, they weren't building muscle. They were building some cardiovascular fitness, but you got to understand that muscle's built when you're sleeping. So if you're riding your bike like a madman every single day doing exactly the same exercise, you're not going to build muscle effectively. What I like to do is what's called the ABC exercise technique. A is ambulate, so walk, run, stairmaster, elliptical. B is bike. And I like to do some high intensity interval training, get my heart rate up to zone 5 during that high intensity interval training. And C is for circuit training. So abs, glutes, biceps, triceps, delts, you know, lightweight, multiple reps, right? After the age of 40, the days of seeing how much you can possibly lift should be over. Lightweight, high reps, be consistent, and don't get hurt, okay? So ABC, ambulate, bike, circuit training. Okay, sleeping. I just talked about sleeping for a second. Sleeping is essential. You got to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. So many important things happen during sleep, but one of the most important things is erections. You should be getting 30 to 60 minutes of erections every night. So anytime you dip into REM sleep, which is dream sleep, you should be getting 5 to 10 minutes of erections each cycle. And that is what keeps your penis healthy. It stretches your penis out. It brings blood flow into your penis. If you're not getting erections at night anymore, that's a warning sign for onset of cardiovascular disease. From the onset of the loss of nighttime erections, you got about 10 years until you'll start to lose daytime erections. And from the onset of losing daytime erections, you got about another 10 years before you're going to develop cardiovascular disease, heart disease. Okay, so pay attention to the loss of nighttime erections, because that's the first sign of erectile issues and the first sign of circulatory issues. Testosterone, right? Your testosterone peaks in the morning. You use it up during the day, and at night, you recharge. You regenerate your testosterone, right? So if you're cutting your sleep short, it's like when I charge my electric car, right? It takes 8 hours to charge my electric car. If I only charge my car for 4 hours, guess what? I only got enough juice in the car for 4 hours of driving, or however many hours that is, right? So if you're not getting a full night of sleep, you're not getting enough testosterone. You also process the psychological information, the feelings, the emotions of the day when you sleep. If you don't get those last 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep, you're not going to be as effective processing the psychological information of the day. And the other thing that's really important that you do during your sleep is you build muscle, right? So when you're at the gym, you're tearing muscle down. What happens when you sleep is you build muscle. Okay, that's where you get that muscular hypertrophy or growth. So if you're in the gym for an hour, but you're only sleeping for 2, 3 hours, guess what? You might as well not have gone to the gym, because it's not going to build muscle for you. Okay, sex, right? Have as much sex as you can. So sex is, it's a great antidepressant. It's a great way to relax. It's a great way to connect. It's a great way to feel good about yourself. So, that's physical intimacy is really an important part of self-confidence, of health, of feeling good about yourself. And the final thing is be nice to other people, right? So there was a huge study called the Harvard Longevity Study, where they followed men that went to Harvard and men that lived in the south side of Boston for about 75 years. It's really an amazing study. A lot of famous people were in it, including John F. Kennedy. And the number one conclusion from this study was that the strength of a man's relationships was the number one predictor of health and happiness. So it's really essential to have good relationships, friends, spouses, family, so be nice to them. So I'd like to close with a message that is really critically important to all you men out there, special fathers, 21st century dads, okay? Take care of yourself, because no one else will, okay? Let me repeat that. Take care of yourself. Make time in your day, schedule the time in your day to take care of yourself, because there's no, tooth fairy coming around to take care of you. You're the only person that can take responsibility for taking care of yourself. Now, I want to plug my book, The 21st Century Man. This is a book. It's over 900 pages. It's 101 chapters. There are over 50 physicians and men's health experts that cover all aspects of men's health, whether it's physical health, relationship health, mental health, aesthetic health, addictions, lifestyle, you name it, and of course, sexual health and urologic health. You name it, it's in here. There are some amazing chapters in this book, including what men need to know about menopause. So if your wife is going through menopause and you don't know what's going on, you're in deep trouble. There are chapters on how to make love to a woman. There's a chapter on health insurance written by a friend of mine who's a health insurance executive, right? If you're navigating the health insurance world and you don't know what's going on, you're never going to be able to take care of your family. It's really a very, very difficult system to navigate. Anyway, there's incredible amount of information in this book. It's available at the21stcenturyman.com, all written out in letters, or you can pick it up on Amazon. It's an audiobook. It's an ebook, but really You need to learn from experts how to take care of yourself. Prevention is much more important than taking care of a problem once it exists. So anyway, thank you so much for your attention. I'm sorry I couldn't be there live, but I have to spend some time with my family. It's our birthday season. If you want to learn more about my medical practice, it's brandeismd.com, brandeismd.com. If you want to read about my book, it's the 21stcenturyman.com, all written out in letters. I have a YouTube channel. I have an Instagram. I'm all over the internet. It's not hard to find me. Anyway, I hope you all have a great conference, and I'm sorry that I missed you in person, but all the best.
Well, that's an amazing presentation, and I'm hoping that if it's important to you, that you'll check out the work that he does, either online or like we had discussed with his book. I'd like to switch gears and introduce Paul Peterangelo, podcast dad number 246. Peter and his wife, Renee, have been married for 30 years and are the proud parents of 5 daughters, including their number 4 daughter, Amanda, who has Down syndrome. And Paul's objective today is to share with us some thoughts about maintaining relational and spiritual health. Paul, the Zoom stage is yours.
Well, thank you, David. I appreciate you inviting me today. Hi, everybody. You guys are a quiet bunch. I'm just saying it could just be the mute button. I really just don't know. So here I'm going to present this first off. I am not an author. I am not a comedian. I don't have a book to sell you. I'm just here to give you some advice, because what I am first and foremost is a child of God. That's number one. Next, I'm a husband, a father, a grandfather, and as a vocation, I am a critical care nurse for over 30 years in emergency medicine and ICUs. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of stress in that job, especially over a bunch of years. But you have to be able to tender that with what you have going on with your child. So as David mentioned, I have 5 daughters. Again, the reason for that is I mentioned to my wife, if we have a son, I'd like to name him Peter, middle name Angelo, Peterangelo. And God does not have a humor, so he gave me all girls. So my 4th daughter, everybody was doing good. My 4th daughter, Amanda, was born. And immediately, as nurses, we knew there was something different. And it wasn't soon after that we had confirmation that our daughter had Down syndrome. And I don't care where you are in that stage, when you have that diagnosis that your child has a special need, and it wasn't the quote, perfect child you had expected, you feel like a gut punch. You don't know what to do. And part of the reason for that, guys, is as guys, we're fixers. Okay? We always want to fix stuff. And this is something we can't. Conversely, guys are terrible at learning and speaking about their feelings. And this is a huge blocker that often occurs because we kind of maybe grew up and we were told guys don't cry. Guys don't, you have to just suck it up, be the man of the family. And I can tell you, if that's your mentality, more so than any of the things that Dr. Judson mentioned, you will be in a lot of trouble, because you're going to contain all that stress and you are going to cause yourself a lot of internal turmoil, which is going to really decrease your life expectancy dramatically. Okay. So what do we do? Well, first and foremost, you have to still prioritize not only yourself, but your wife and your family. And again, sometimes guys, when they have special needs child, and if you have a lot of kids like me, you're looking for overtime shifts. You're looking for things that literally keep you out of the house with the, good notion that I'm going to help them by just bringing in more money. Again, money's great. We need it, but it's not the end all be all. It's not the title that we have in life. It's the time we have with family. is one of the most important things you can do. There's a great article by Focus on the Family on putting your spouse and your first before your kids. And then you're saying, well, yeah, but how do you do that? Because my child has a lot of needs. Well, I guess first and foremost, you need to be aware of resources. Whether you're in the United States or your country, if you happen to have a computer, which since we're all on here, I'm assuming you do, you can do a search and you can look for resources for services for children with disabilities. There's actually a great one in the United States at childcare.gov, where you can search by state as to resources that you can have. There's Banning Individuals with Disabilities Action Act. There's learning about services available. But these are all super important. And here's the why. Why are these important? Because in order to do all the great things that Dr. Judson was mentioning, as far as your health, by getting to the gym, exercising, eating right, you got to find time. And that's really a tough thing sometimes for us to do. So you have to get involved in services for your child. You need to be able to have others that can give you respite. Respite is incredibly important in your journey. It was saddening me when I was listening to Tom, and he mentioned how he had a divorce, and you heard the pain in his voice as he said about the stress and how that was such a tough season in his life, and it is. So the question is, how do you avoid that? Well, it's by prioritizing your wife. It's your partner, it's your family. So do this, and sometimes we think we're at the end, we just don't have it. And personally for me, spirituality is a huge part of Renee's and my journey. Renee's my wife. Couldn't do anything without her. She's the one that maintains all the records for Amanda, and we got binders and binders and binders on the wall. So I look at Philippians 4:13 is that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And that is so important, because by ourselves, we might not just have it. But I'll tell you, it's there. You can have it. But sometimes you have to just stop, take a breath, and think about it. And you do have to be selfish for your time, because you cannot devote it all to your child or children. Okay? You see so many guys that think they have to be the super helicopter parents, and I got to have my kids in every sports, every scouting program, every activity, and your whole day revolves around your children. And sometimes, because if you have more children and they're not all special needs, you tend to focus more on just bringing your special needs child to the activities of your other children, but you don't have time for you. So how do you do it? Put it on your calendar. What's important to you is going to be on your calendar. And we always say, if you want to look at what's important to a guy, look at his checkbook, his credit cards, and his calendar. And if you're not on there somewhere, there's a problem. You definitely need to have that time to find space, to carve it out, to have some meditation, some prayer time. You need to have that time to go to the gym, just go for a walk with your wife around the block. You need to do that for your own sanity, because it is just too important. And you see too many families break up. And sadly, I've seen many families with special needs where the families break up. And because a lot of times both the father is internalizing, he can't speak what's going on in his heart. And that makes it a very difficult, because then it's just a lot of anger and issues and blame. So you don't want to have any of that. So again, get the resources, because we did that from the moment Amanda was born. We got her hooked up with early intervention. We had people coming to the house to start teaching her things as simple as from as an infant, whenever she would have the tongue protrusion that used to be so common with Down syndrome, we learned to push it back in because it's a learned response. So now when you see Amanda, she doesn't necessarily have all the traits that you would associate with Down syndrome. Now, Amanda still lives with us, and she turned 27. She'll be turning 28 in July this year. And I can tell you she's a blessing. She has made every single person in my family, all my daughters, me, my wife, a better person. And that's the beauty of a special needs. It's not a why did this happen to me? It's God, thank you for allowing this to happen to me. So if you change your mindset and you understand the need to self-care yourself and your wife, because you're a partner and you're a team, you're going to find out so much of what's happening is going to be alleviated and the joy will be there for you. So I'm going to put my email in the chat stream if anybody is interested in more information, because I don't have an Instagram. I'm not on any social media purposely because it's not important to me. But you guys all are. So if you need any questions answered or I can help you in any way, feel free to send me an email. We can hook up. But David, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to participate in Dad to Dad. This is great. And good luck to everybody here. God bless.
Paul, thank you for those pearls of wisdom. Lots of insights. And look in the chat if you're interested in reconnecting with Paul offline or beyond. I would just suggest that you can go to his podcast interview, number 246. We have all of his contact information and the show notes there as well.